What up?
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us for today's live stream as we reveal our upcoming expansion, The Forbidden Sanctum, which launches on December 9th on PC and Mac and on December 14th on console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Bloodguard wings. Here's what you can expect from today's live stream.
Let me know how
We'll
the
start
audio
by
is.
debuting the trailer for The Forbidden Sanctum, and we'll then do a deep dive on the League itself.
This is my first reveal.
We'll cover
I'm
this expansion's
excited.
new endgame revamps and content, and then we'll have a look at all the new skills we're introducing. We'll then reveal some new unique items and the massive buffs and rarity adjustments we have made to a variety of endgame unique weapons. We'll then briefly cover some balance topics that we have posted articles about recently: jewels, curses, and the replacement of the arch-nemesis monster mod system. Finally, we'll discuss the upcoming release of the optional Ruthless game mode before touching on some quality of life improvements and the new supporter packs. The livestream concludes with a Q&A session between Ziggy D and me, where we'll answer questions from Twitch chat. Then we'll drop the full patch notes. Let's get started with the trailer for The Forbidden Sanctum, which launches in 1 week.
Mic test, mic test. The trailer, let's go.
Many have met their fate here in the shade of Fell Shrine. So, step lightly. But here you are bound by new rules. My rules.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna know everything
to
that's
tempt
new,
you.
because there's so much about the game I
A
haven't seen.
foe to wound you. A curse to
Oh,
spite
that's
you.
sick.
But do not give up.
Oh my
For
god.
vast
If it's a boss
riches
league,
await the bold.
that's what I've been wanting for. Or hoping for.
Pillage this sanctum if you must. And one day you may uncover its secrets.
This looks sick. I'm so fucking hyped. Ruthless mode that they didn't let me play early. Ooh, Atlas passives. I can't wait. Oh, I'm so hyped. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I saw a lot of bosses.
The
That's
Forbidden
exactly what I
Sanctum is an
wanted to.
old Templar enclave, long rumored to be hidden beneath the Fell Shrine ruins. Abandoned for a long time, it is now controlled by a malevolent entity. In this league, you'll explore it, find out its secrets, and deal with the evil that lurks there. The Sanctum Challenge League is a roguelike game, played
Roguelike?
out one room at a time as you
I
explore
was just
Wraithlust
saying
and the
that.
Atlas in Path of Exile. In every area or map you enter, you can make a choice of which room in the Sanctum you will explore next. On the Sanctum map, you can see the contents of a few rooms ahead, enabling you to plot a path through its
I was
dangerous
just saying,
halls.
all
And the Sanctum
League,
is
a
dangerous.
roguelike version
Like
of
most
Path of
roguelikes,
Exile
you
would
should
be
not
sick.
expect to be able to complete it on your first try. Getting to the deeper floors requires experience, knowledge, and luck. You should expect that your early attempts will fail, but over time, you'll be able to push yourself farther and farther. As you progress deeper into the Sanctum, you'll find a variety of treasures that will help you eventually fight your way to the dangers that await you at the end of its
That boss
fourth
right
floor.
there looks sick.
Eventually, by endgame, you may be able to push through all 4 floors to face the final boss. Every roguelike needs a resource to help you track how well the run is going. In the Forbidden Sanctum, it is your resolve, indicated by this bar here. As you explore the Sanctum, your resolve is threatened by the dangers within. When you lose all of your resolve, your Sanctum run ends. Your level of resolve is maintained between consecutive rooms on your run, but is only shown when you're in the Sanctum itself. The resolve mechanic applies equally to all build archetypes. Your resolve is reduced when you are hit by monsters or environmental hazards in the Sanctum, and these telegraphed attacks are not affected by regular Path of Exile defensive mechanics, such as evasion, armor, or block.
Mechanics.
While these attacks do some nominal damage to your regular life, the bulk of their impact is against your resolve. This mechanic provides a mechanism for tracking your progress between rooms, where your regular life pool would long ago have been recovered. Another aspect of the resolve system is that characters who are struggling can be ejected from the Sanctum without actually having to die, avoiding experience loss or hardcore death. So maintaining a healthy level of resolve is key as you navigate the Sanctum, and that means making careful choices of what rooms you enter. Let's have a look at some of the things that Sanctum rooms can contain.
Dude, this is everything I said I wanted more
Affliction
of
rooms
in
cause
Path
you to
of
gain an
Exile.
affliction when you enter them.
This is
Afflictions
awesome.
make your Sanctum run more difficult. For example, reducing your resolve recovery, causing rewards to become hidden on the Sanctum map, or causing Sanctum rooms to spawn volatile anomalies that follow you. These minor afflictions accumulate as you get deeper and deeper into a run, making it more challenging. Major afflictions exist and are a big deal. They have significant consequences, such as entirely preventing the recovery of resolve. So, a Sanctum run gets harder and harder as you pick up more afflictions.
Yes.
Sounds great. But every roguelike needs a way for you to gain power throughout your
Yes.
run. In the Forbidden Sanctum, that system is boons. Boons are beneficial buffs that help you as you progress through the Sanctum. Minor boons make things a little easier, such as slowing down monsters or adding a special shield to your resolve called Inspiration. Major boons don't come along often, but have large effects, such as preventing you from receiving more minor afflictions, or recovering your resolve to 50% the next time you run out. Due to the vast variety of afflictions and boons, no two runs are the same. Generally speaking, your best Sanctum runs are the ones where the afflictions you choose have little effect on you, and the boons either counteract
Obviously.
them or have a large benefit for the strategy you're running. Some rooms in the Sanctum contain a fountain, which will restore some of your lost resolve.
Hell yeah. Oh
Others
man, I'm
contain
loving this.
afflicted
I'm
fountains
loving every
that
bit of
restore
this.
even more resolve at a cost. Rooms with a treasure reward contain chests full of the Templar Aureus currency, a type of gold coin they used for commerce within their Sanctum. You'll also find some Aureus coins from monsters that you kill as you explore. These are picked up automatically, like Azurite, and are not tradable, and like your afflictions and boons, are lost when your Sanctum run ends. Some rooms contain a merchant who accepts your Aureus coins in exchange for boons. Plan your purchases carefully, as you may encounter the merchant again later on with even more expensive boons to purchase. Occasionally, the sinister powers controlling the Sanctum will present you with the choice of making an accursed pact. You are given several pacts to choose from, and can even opt to take all that you are offered. All pacts have a big upside and a big downside, such as exchanging a portion of your maximum resolve for a random major boon. It's very dangerous to make a pact, but if you pick the right circumstances, your gamble could pay off. In addition to rewards that help you progress through the Sanctum, many rooms let you immediately receive Path of Exile currency items, but with a twist. Whenever you're offered some currency items that you can receive right away, you are also offered a more valuable option that will be waiting
risk
for you
and
after the boss
reward.
fight
I
at
like
the end of
this.
the current floor of the Sanctum. It's a gamble, because if you fail your run before you reach and defeat the boss, you will
Man,
not
I'm
receive
loving
the reward you
everything.
picked. Later on, you're offered
I'm
the
so
extreme
excited for
temptation of getting a
roguelike
massive currency
Path of
reward that is
Exile.
conditional on completing your entire Sanctum run without failing. At a specific point in the Forbidden Sanctum storyline, you'll discover a special altar that Templar relics can be placed on. These relics directly affect your Sanctum runs and are not lost when a run ends.
Oh, fuck
They
yeah.
persist throughout the League as a permanent source of meta
Nice.
progression. Acquiring new and better relics is one of the ways you can push farther and farther with each run you try. Relics cannot be crafted and cannot be traded, as they represent your personal progression throughout the League. You'll accumulate more than you can use simultaneously, so you'll have options to fine-tune your strategy from run to run. You can store your extra relics in the Relic Locker, a free storage space like the Expedition Locker.
Hell yeah.
We don't want to spoil important story details, but the end boss of the Forbidden Sanctum can drop unique items from a pool exclusive to this league. Today we'd like to show you a unique
Whoa.
amulet called Eternal Damnation. This amulet offers a powerful way to gain additional elemental mitigation by introducing the concept of elemental damage reduction. Despite the drawback of reducing your maximum resistances, if you have
Hey,
sufficient chaos
that's-
resistance, this is more than
that's
compensated
fine.
for. Because of the roguelike nature of the Forbidden Sanctum, defeating the boss of a floor is a difficult achievement and hence rewards a lot of experience. You may fail on the way, so if you do manage it, expect a good experience boost for your achievement. Another reward you can find is a special type of relic called a Sanctified Relic.
Increased effective
that has mods that
onslaught.
directly affect your character's build. You can only unlock one slot for this type of relic, and
I
while
wish
these
I could
relics
take
can't
my
be
Lightning
crafted
Strike
through
champion
conventional
in
means,
here.
you may find special reward rooms in the Sanctum that can modify them. These relics exist for this league only and provide a boost to character power for players who are able to master the Sanctum. The Sanctum League offers a roguelike experience that tempts you into taking risks and rewards you if those pay off. There's a lot to explore in the Sanctum, and we can't wait to hear about your experiences next week. In each expansion leading up to Path of Exile 2's release, we're improving Path of Exile's endgame, with new content to explore and improvements to how you customize your endgame experience. In the Forbidden Sanctum expansion, we're revamping the Atlas tree, reworking how Eldritch Altars function, and are introducing 2 new Atlas memories. The Atlas tree is generally working really well, but has a few problems we'd like to address. The tree offers you the ability to specialize in killing pinnacle bosses, providing extra rewards when you do so. While this sounds good on paper, it creates a situation where you're incentivized to specialize your tree for regular mapping, save up all of your boss fights,
and then
respec fully into boss
I've used so many
mode, and then
orbital
do all of your
unmakens.
saved up boss fights before speccing back again. Ideally, the design of the Atlas tree would let you spec into one build and then just play the game. We have removed all boss bonuses from the Atlas tree, and have baked some of them into the actual base properties of the boss fights. For example, you don't need to allocate the Gaze into the Abyss notable that makes the Elder more likely to drop a Watcher's Eye, as he just has that drop chance built in now.
Nice.
The Atlas
Good
tree is now
change.
focused on allowing you to specialize into content that you encounter in every map. We also want you to be able to specialize into your favorite leagues even more deeply on the Atlas tree.
I like.
For each of the 10 leagues that the tree lets you disable, we've added a bunch more passives to the tree. These new passives allow you to increase the league's spawn chance to much higher levels than currently possible, and juice the league even further than before.
Fuck yeah.
We are making a number of changes to Eldritch Altars that mostly affect their rewards, but will also affect gameplay decisions you make involving them. Some of the key changes include splitting up the basic currency, Scarab, and Divination.
Everything on the
rewards to be
manifesto about
explicit in their
altars I
description of
loved.
what rewards
This is
you'll
my
get.
favorite mechanic.
For example, instead of map bosses dropping 3 unknown basic currency items, the altar specifically says which currency
Ooh, that
item will
Chaos
drop.
Sword one's gonna be good.
As part of this change, we've removed some of the lower value yet quite common currency rewards from the pool, such as Orbs of Augmentation and Orbs of Transmutation. Speaking of Scarabs, these will be less available from altars, but we've improved their availability elsewhere to offset this. Rusted Scarabs can now drop from the core drop pool, and we've added a vendor recipe that allows you to
I
upgrade
loved
your
everything about
Scarabs
this
up to
manifesto
gilded
too.
using the normal 3:1 ratio. You can also perform this action from your Fragment tab using the new upgrade button. We have made reward types exclusive to different influences, so that you know which influence type to invest in if you want to target farm a certain reward. To give you a
Nice.
specific example,
Target farming is
if you
good.
run maps influenced by, say, Eater of Worlds, you'll see Divine Orbs from the basic currency reward more than twice as often as before. We've also rebalanced rewards so that choices that affect boss drops or
We're gonna be
influence
doing
monster
some
drops
altar
are
farming.
comparatively more valuable. The Wrath of the Cosmos keystone has been reworked. Previously, it was so rewarding that players felt obligated to use it despite its extreme level of difficulty. It has retained the risk versus reward element, but with the overall intensity toned down.
I like
You
it.
can now also get awakened gems from defeating Maven Witness map bosses. This additional
This is
reward
good
helps
too.
further balance the expected returns from the various types of influence. For more detail on these changes, check out the Balance Manifesto we posted last week, or the upcoming patch notes. In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we introduced Atlas Memories. When applied to your Atlas, they unlock a sequence of maps that tells the story of an NPC's past. These stories manifest as specialized encounters that involve a new challenge and exciting rewards. In this expansion, we've introduced 2 new Atlas memories, describing events related to bestiary and domination. The bestiary memory line allows you to capture harvest monsters as beasts for your menagerie. These harvest beasts can be used in 9 new beast crafting recipes.
Oh.
These recipes cover an array of options. For example, you can remove one of the special modifiers from a Watcher's Eye Jewel and then add another. This can have potent results, but won't affect the life, mana, or energy shield modifiers.
What?
You can re-roll an
We
awakened
can
gem from
craft
one
our
type to
Watcher's
another.
Eyes. Roll an
Another
Awaken
example is that
gem?
you can also re-roll a Synthesis Implicit modifier. If your item has more than one Synthesis Implicit, it will randomly
Reroll
re-roll one of them.
implicit?
The Domination Atlas memory thrusts you into a tale of pantheon gods that stand watch over their shrines.
Beastcraft buff.
Like regular shrines, these are guarded by monsters and emit a buff that empowers the monsters until you claim that buff for yourself. This Atlas memory introduces a new set of shrines with specialized buffs, guarded by rare monsters that drop tantalizing rewards. The Forbidden Sanctum expansion introduces a new type of shard that can drop from Harbingers, Fracturing Shards. When combined together into a full currency item, you get the Fracturing Orb, which behaves the same as the Fracturing Craft from Harvest. It can be used on any rare item with at least 4 modifiers. When the orb is applied, it locks one of the modifiers in place so that further crafting efforts do not affect that modifier. Items fractured in this way can only have one fractured modifier. Previously, this crafting option was gated behind the Oshabi fight in Harvest. Now that it has been rehomed to Harbinger, the Harvest crafting option is no longer available.
Which means you can spend your Harvest currency on other things.
And Oshabi kills on other crafts.
Awesome.
Because Fracturing Shards drop from Harbingers, you'll be able to target farm them by speccing into Harbinger content on your Atlas tree.
Harbinger buff.
The Forbidden Sanctum
Ain't good for
introduces
Harvestcraft.
a number of new skill gems. In addition to some new melee Val skills we'll discuss later in the livestream, there are 2 totally new skills that we'd like to unveil today. Volcanic Fissure is a new fiery slam skill that can be used with staves, maces, axes, and unarmed attacks.
I need a sword ability.
Strike the ground to create a chasm
that is pretty
winds
cool.
towards your target.
That's a sick ass
This
ability.
chasm can path around corners before erupting as the fissure gets as close as it can reach. It releases a burst of fiery projectiles that explode on striking the ground. Enemies hit by multiple impacts will take a lot of stacked damage. Use it up close for reliable bursts of damage, or aim far away to damage a larger area.
Okay.
Frozen Legion is an unusual spell, summoning a ring of icy statues that attack with your own weapon damage. This skill has multiple cooldown stacks and consumes all cooldown uses at once to summon a statue for each available cooldown. The statues perform a sweeping ice slash, and these sweeps can overlap,
That's
resulting
sick.
in multiple hits against targets
We
close
need
to you.
big
The
AoEs
spell
on
can be used
this.
with staves, maces, and axes.
No sword.
The skill is particularly powerful with slow, heavy weapons, as while the statues will use your attack speed, you should instead prioritize the spell's own cast time and cooldown. This expansion also introduces many new Val melee skills. As you know, equipping a Val skill gem grants you both the Val and regular version of the skill. As you kill enemies, the gem charges up with their souls, and after a certain number are collected, the Val skill can be used once. Most of the new Val skills introduced in this expansion are melee skills, and this results in an
Is that sword
indirect buff
insane?
to any melee builds that use one of these skills. Where previously you'd just be using your melee skill to kill enemies, you now get to periodically use a super-powered version of the skill. If you like Flicker Strike, you'll love Val Flicker Strike, as it really dials up the concept of letting fate take the wheel. Val Flicker Strike causes you to flicker dozens of extra times, slashing enemies. During this time, you don't deal
One
any
of my
damage to
viewers
the
want me to
enemies you
play
slash.
that.
You're quite vulnerable due to not leeching or generating fortify stacks. When you finish flickering, if you survived of course, you'll be
If you
rewarded with a
survived.
single huge hit of damage against each enemy you slashed.
Okay.
Val Cleave is a new Val skill that buffs the behavior of its non-Val version, in a similar way to how Val Reeve works. Val Cleave triggers 2 buffs, one when you kill a rare enemy, and one when you kill either a rare or unique enemy. The latter is a strong buff to regular Cleave, which you can keep up almost permanently if you're able to kill rare or unique enemies often enough.
Okay.
The bonus for
problem.
killing a rare enemy is that you get to steal its mods for a time. You can enjoy part of the power of having a headhunter without actually needing to find one. Overall, Val Cleave is a pretty powerful upgrade to any melee build that could run Cleave. That +2 radius buff is looking pretty good now, right? Don't hurt me. We'll showcase the other new Val skills we're introducing over the coming week. The Forbidden Sanctum expansion introduces over 15 new unique items, from Sanctum
It's gonna be a
exclusive
good
uniques
mapping
to ones
skill.
that can be found from Path of Exile's pinnacle bosses. I'd like to show you 3 examples of these, designed by winners of our prior league's boss kill races. Progenesis is a unique amethyst flask that was designed by Ben and drops from the Uber Maven. It's a defensive flask that grants a mini version of the Petrified Blood effect, but without requiring you to be on low life. This is a useful tool to prevent you getting one-shot by large amounts of incoming damage in scary situations. Rational Doctrine is a unique jewel that was designed by Rawlings and drops from Uber Venarius. By manipulating your attributes, you can change how this jewel behaves. While the ideal dream outcome is that you manage to get your strength and intelligence tied for highest, enabling both of the benefits simultaneously, the jewel is still very powerful if it only grants your choice of permanent consecrated ground or permanent profane ground.
Okay.
Entropic Devastation is a pair of unique gloves that were designed by Gucci Pradas and dropped from the Uber Shaper. Currently, the ways to get Spell Impale are very limited. These gloves provide the powerful property of causing all of your spells to impale on crit. So let's talk about unique weapons, specifically endgame unique weapons. In many ways, the weapon is the most
Okay.
iconic and important
Maybe we
item
could
on a
pick a
character,
weapon out
so it's very important
next
that we
league.
make them exciting and worthy of their unique status. While some unique weapons have special properties that enable entirely new builds, others are best compared to powerful rare items as a primary source of your character's damage. We have to be very careful when pitching the power level of these unique weapons. If they're
True.
not powerful enough, then they're useless and are ignored. But if they're too powerful, then they discourage entire archetypes of characters from trying to find or craft rare weapons.
True.
Interestingly, the above problem doesn't apply to belts. Despite Mageblood and Headhunter both existing as extremely powerful unique
They can
items,
be used to all
people
builds.
still craft plenty of rare belts. That's because Mageblood and Headhunter are extremely rare, and people don't actually expect they'll reliably get one in a league. Players tend to treat them as luxury
Okay, I
upgrades
get
to their
what he's
build,
saying.
rather than something they're certain to get. In this expansion, we're promoting 10 iconic but underused unique weapons to the same tier of rarity as Mageblood and Headhunter. We are buffing them a gigantic amount and are making them incredibly hard to find. Remember when Starforge used to be an exciting item? Well, after this change, it certainly is again. It still drops exclusively
There's a
from the
sword.
Shaper and the Uber Shaper, but it'll take a lot of runs or a lot
Increased
of luck
area
to
of
earn.
effect for attacks.
Over the next week, we'll reveal the other unique weapons that have been massively buffed. We have targeted around 10 iconic
This can't
underused
be a
unique
five
weapons
star
and have generally
I'm gonna have
buffed
to read
only
that
their damage
sword
stat, but by a lot.
Later. I didn't get to read it all.
We've made a number of changes to jewels that are covered in a recent balance manifesto, but in case you missed it, we want to quickly summarize what the changes are. In the Forbidden Sanctum expansion, we have
All
made
these
jewels a better
changes
source
were
of
great.
ailment mitigation by buffing the values
Also.
of ailment-focused jewel modifiers and adding new modifiers that enable mitigation to a wider variety of ailments than before. We have also removed some ailment mitigation modifiers that were only available on jewels through corruption, because there are now better options through the regular jewel mod pool. This also means that other desirable corruption modifiers, like immunity to corrupting blood, are more likely to roll. We want the moment of finding a unique jewel to be way more exciting than it currently is.
Yes.
We've added a handful of new, very powerful unique jewels.
I do
and
a lot of
removed some
mapping
old,
and
less interesting
jewels
ones.
drop
An
drop
example
left
of one
and
of these
right,
new
and they're all
unique
worth
jewels
1
is
C.
Firesong, which propagates any modifiers to your ignite mitigation to other elemental ailments. If
Same
you're able to
jewels. Nobody
substantially
wants.
reduce the duration of ignites on you, then you can use Firesong to basically shrug off any elemental ailment. For full information about the other changes to unique jewels, check out the Balance Manifesto post we made recently.
It was a good manifesto.
We've rebalanced curses to make them stronger where they matter most against unique
I don't know
monsters
much
and
about
pinnacle
hexes,
bosses.
so I couldn't give an
We have
opinion
buffed
on this,
several
but it
hex-related
seemed
unique
like good
items
changes.
and reworked unique items that previously interacted with Doom. To replace the Doomsday Keystone passive, we have brought back a version of an iconic curse-related keystone
People
from
seem
the
to be
past.
happy about it, so
We've introduced some powerful new unique items
I
that
wouldn't know.
interact with hexes, which we'll reveal in the lead up to launch. For more details on changes to curses, check out the Balance Manifesto we posted recently, or the patch notes that will come out after the livestream concludes. When we first created the Arch-Nemesis monster mod system, our goal was to improve Path of Exile's outdated set of monster mods with new and interesting
notice they didn't
mechanics that
say
modern
get
game
rid
balance.
of.
We feel that Arch-Nemesis did introduce a lot of interesting
It
mechanics,
got
but it
reworked.
unfortunately had several
I'm
of its
sorry,
own
y'all.
problems.
I hate to break y'all's
We have
heart.
replaced
It's not
Arch-Nemesis
gone.
with a system that is more similar to the way monster mods worked in the past. The new monster
They were
mods are a
smart
lot
and
simpler.
changed the
They
name
now
of
each
it.
do one thing and very clearly state what they do. Each encounter with a rare monster is now less complex and is easier to understand in the heat of combat compared to Arch-Nemesis.
You can't read that stuff
You'll
anyway.
still encounter challenging combinations of mods from time to time.
You take
but
the
this
time to read
emergent
that stuff
synergy
and
will be
you
rarer than
might
it was
die.
under Arch-Nemesis. The goal is that combat is interesting and varied, with
I
moments that
swear,
get
if
your
they
heart
tell me
racing,
we could
but without the
edit our
frustrations
buff
of the
bar.
Arch-Nemesis system. Let's talk about rewards. Under Arch-Nemesis, it often felt mandatory to bring in a magic find culling character to kill some monsters for you in order to maximize your
Yeah,
rewards.
that's magic
In the new
finds.
system, we've added a significant pool of new rewards to rares, but the reward that is on the monster is hidden and not associated with a specific mod, so you don't know what kind of rewards you will get until you kill the monster.
Good.
Rare monsters with more mods are more likely to have these special hidden reward bonuses. To find out more about other balance changes that are taking place in the Forbidden Sanctum, check out the patch notes, which will be available when the livestream
They're
ends.
too scared to solve the
Over the
problem.
last year or so, some of our senior
Which is
developers
Magic
have been
Find.
tinkering with a more challenging way to play Path of Exile. We've been publicly alpha testing this mode, known as Ruthless, for the last month, and are planning to make it available to anyone who's
Yeah, I
interested
signed up for
alongside
that.
the launch of the Forbidden Sanctum next week. Ruthless is an optional
1,000
additional
invites
character
went out,
flag
and I
like
didn't get one.
hardcore or solo
I'm a little
self-found
sad.
that completely changes how Path of Exile feels to play. Ruthless is a lot more difficult than regular Path of Exile, but it doesn't achieve this by making the monsters harder to kill. It instead focuses on reducing character power through extreme item scarcity, limited crafting, and many other changes such as support gems being drop only. We've posted an article about the philosophy and rules of Ruthless on pathofexile.com/ruthless. We plan to release this mode alongside the Forbidden Sanctum expansion in a week. In addition to being a character flag like hardcore or solo self-found, it's also available as a modifier for private leagues. To be clear, the Forbidden Sanctum League content can be played in Ruthless with appropriately balanced rewards. Ruthless is still very experimental during 3.20, and we won't be afraid to make mid-league balance changes to it during this experimental phase. Ruthless is not for everyone, but so far it has found a supportive and
I'm not
growing
gonna play
group of players
Ruthless
who
on
enjoy
this
the
league, but
additional
I'm
challenge
definitely
that it
gonna
brings.
play it
If it
at
sounds
some
like
point.
something you're interested
I'm
in,
very
then try it out
interested
next
in
time you're looking
Ruthless.
for a new way
I
to
just need to
enjoy
get
Path of
better at the
Exile.
game. This is my second league, so.
This expansion also contains a number of small quality of
Alright,
life
let's hear it.
improvements. Some examples are Divine Vessels can now be used by right-clicking them rather than taking them to
Or
Sin.
you could have let
On the
Sin hang
player
out
overhead life bar,
hang out
the
with
energy
us.
shield bar is split into a separate bar.
Nice.
You can now right-click
Nice.
an itemized Temple of Atsuatl to see its layout.
Nice.
And most importantly, beast crafting recipes that
Nice.
add mods to flasks now actually say what the mods do.
Now
We'll
do
post
that
more
for the
information about these
enchants.
and other quality of life improvements in the lead up to release. Today we're launching two new series of supporter packs, the Forge and Gemling packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, plus several
Here's where
exclusive
they tempt me, but I just ain't gonna
These
have the
packs
money
will only
for
be
it.
available for the duration of the Sanctum Challenge League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. As always, these microtransactions are entirely cosmetic and do not affect your character's progression or power. The Forge series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Clockwork back attachment ramps up as you build a kill streak, building pressure and releasing it when your streak ends.
Nice. FPS killer.
The Delirious hideout decoration lets you summon delirium fog in your hideout at will, complete with strange voices and terrifying apparitions.
That's sick. Oh, I want that. I don't have money. That's awesome. Another FPS killer.
The Forge Guard armor set summons a hammer and anvil so that everyone nearby can watch you craft.
I can't wait to see everybody doing that.
The Ethereal Fusing effect turns your item linking attempts into a spectator sport. If you manage to hit a 6 link, people watching are even prompted to send a congratulatory message.
That's so cool. They can actually interact with you. I wonder if they're
Summoning the
hinting towards
Crowstorm portal
PoE
effect
2 being a
causes
little bit
murder of
more
crows to
social.
erupt from the portal. The portal becomes dormant if you are too far away from it, causing the crows to take to the skies.
Oh my god, these...
The High Templar weapon effect smites the undead you fight and scours the souls of those you put to rest. The Gemling Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions.
These are
The
so
Beehive
good.
weapon effect lets your weapon play host to a swarm of angry bees, which erupt from the hive whenever you hit an enemy
Oh,
with a
please do
weapon.
an insect.
Critical hits cause the hive to
Insect,
send out its best
skills.
warriors.
I want
The
fleas.
Stampede Quicksilver Flask makes you the leader of your own personal rower herd. Activating the
I want a
flask
flea
causes
skill.
a host of ghostly rowers to charge alongside you. This is the Gemling Artificer armor set. It is inlaid with gems that match the gems you've socketed in your items.
That's so
Crafting
cool.
gems with gem cutters prisms, Val orbs, or regrading lenses visualizes the process for all to see. This armor set also includes alternate gem level up effects.
These are such good ideas.
Prospero's ring blesses you with a constant shower of coins, and it helps you thank players you've traded with through a hearty fist bump. The consuming
I'm loving
Ooze Pet
the
bounces alongside you and devours
social
corpses in your
aspect of
wake,
these
spitting out a
cosmetics.
tidy pile of bones. Finally, this pack allows you to reunite with Kadiro Perandus, inviting
clue
him to
who
your
that
hideout
is.
as a vendor. In addition to buying items from you and using his connections to accept your divination cards, he'll provide commentary on your goods, equipment, and anything else he sees fit to judge you for.
That might be a little too much to drink, even for me.
Kadiro has hundreds of lines of voice acting.
Hundreds? Wow.
Oh, a mighty headhunter.
Seems like a
I'm
fun character. I don't know who he
so
is.
impressed. Try to duck when the brain fragments splatter everywhere. You wouldn't want to sully your armor.
Yeah, he seems cool.
These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase. Purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2, and we really appreciate your support. Meanwhile, the Knight and Rogue packs leave the store forever in 1
They're
week,
so cool, I
now's your
hadn't
last
looked at
chance to
them.
purchase them. The Calandra edition of Kirik's Vault Pass is only available until the end of the Calandra League, and will be replaced with a new set of unique items when the Forbidden Sanctum launches. By the way, we're hoping to film Season 11 of Build of the Week once the Forbidden Sanctum comes out. If you want to submit your build for the season, share your build guide on the class forums on pathofexile.com. Next up, we've got the Q&A with Ziggy D. Once that ends, we'll post the full patch notes for the Forbidden Sanctum.
Y'all,
Over the next week, our community team will post the
every
expansion's challenge
manifesto,
rewards, information on how to
this
update your item
stream,
filters,
like,
all new and changed
like,
gems,
these are the
and
things I've been
information on how to
talking
prepare
about on
for
my
launch.
first league.
On launch
They need
weekend,
to
we
add
expect to
a
release the new
roguelike
mystery box,
mode.
and we'll follow up with a new
I was
Kirik's
saying that
Vault
the
Pass
whole
in the days
time
after
in
launch.
Delve.
Thanks for joining us and checking out the Forbidden Sanctum. We can't wait to join you in
I
Raid
wanted
Blast
this
on
league to
December
be a
9th.
bossing
We'll
league
begin the
because they
Q&A
need
shortly,
more
so please get your
bosses, more
questions ready in chat.
mechanics, and we're getting it. Changes to the Atlas, fucking awesome. Oh my god, I'm so hyped for this. This, you know, I figured it was gonna be good, but this is way better than I was expecting. I'm ready for this. I'm ready. Oh, this is gonna be so good. I'll be right back.
Good morning, Exiles, and welcome back for another Q&A session with none other than Chris Wilson. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for joining us once again.
Oh, thanks for being here as well.
I'm very keen to jump into chatting about Forbidden Sanctum straight away, but as always, you folks can put your questions in the chat, and our helpful team of moderators will pull some out for us to answer. So, Path of Exile gets to be so many things. It has gotten to be so many things over the years. Do you ever really feel like you just don't need to make another game in any other genre because you can just make a league that is that genre? Like make a farming league or a city building league or a roguelike league?
I guess it's one perk of the job, but we always try to make sure that when we're designing our leagues, they're games that fit within the idea of being an action RPG. Like they have to involve you killing monsters and finding items in order to fit within Path of Exile.
Yeah, so even when you're farming, you're killing monsters, or even when you're fishing, you're killing monsters. I look forward to the one where we pull
bit of an
monsters out of the
agenda
water.
there, Ziggy.
I was planning on pushing the fishing angle.
So that's when you get on the boat and have your fishing league, right?
And you like pull monsters out of the water, right? Like giant fish that you then battle with as they flop around on the deck. That makes sense.
Interesting. That one's under NDA. Sorry.
Oh, I'm in trouble. How do you gain access to the new Forbidden Sanctum?
So basically, every area you're playing in has a portal that gives you access to it. It basically takes you to the next room that you're playing in the Sanctum in your current run.
Ah, okay. So to clarify then, the Sanctum's divided into rooms, each with their own encounter, and then floors with a boss at the end of each. And then there's the whole Sanctum itself, which is multiple floors?
That's right. So the Sanctum itself has 4 floors, each one guarded by a boss at the end, with the ultimate boss fight at the end of the 4th floor. And each of the floors has 8 rooms, and so a maximum length Sanctum run would be 32 consecutive rooms, which you'd play out over potentially 32 maps. But it's worth emphasizing that, as with most roguelikes, you don't just install it and then happily play through to the end in one go. It's something that you get further and further with each run as you get better meta progression, as you learn more about it, and as you have good versus bad runs.
I presume it like level scales to the character kind of as you're leveling still, as per regular leagues. Is there any potential, do you think, that someone who's like quite good at the game maybe gets through on their first try, or is this quite definitely you're going to have to make it a bit further each time?
We never underestimate the players, right? Like we will try as hard as we can to achieve something, and then players will just blow right past that because there are millions of them and they're pretty damn good at the game. So I don't want to make any promises there, but It certainly is the case that in order to get really deep into the Sanctum, you have to know a lot about it. You have to have some experience with it. You have to ideally have a good character with a capable build. You'd ideally have a good setup of your relics, which are the meta progression. To get to the deeper floors, it certainly requires that you've assembled relics that fit with your strategy. And it also helps to be having a good run. I can't emphasize that enough. It's very roguelike, where you're picking up these random boons, these random afflictions. And if you get the bad afflictions on you early on, that run is not going to last long. If you get a really good set of boons, you could have a really deep run, much further than you otherwise would at your current level.
This is so you mentioned like 30 something rooms. That's like the biggest thing we've had by a pretty substantial margin. Because even building the temple was around 11 maps to build a full temple and then run that. And that was like, that's a pretty sizable thing. So this is a lot bigger than that then.
That's correct, but a lot of the rewards you're getting along the way, and so it's entirely fine to play the Sanctum a few floors in and then fail and play again, and it's still a rewarding experience, assuming you don't gamble on pushing the rewards right to the end of the entire Sanctum run, but it's unlikely you're going to choose to do that until you are really confident in your ability to do this run particularly well.
Yeah, so I saw the reward options are like take a tiny reward now, take a decent reward at the end of the floor. So you're like, oh, I can make it 3 or 4 more rooms. And then
Yep.
there's the really big one at the end as well. And there's
Yes.
stack right if you get a bunch of them.
That's right, and it was kind of funny because in the live stream I said this is a massive reward, and we're showing like a few chaos orbs as the reward. So of course, chat memed that as much as they could. The thing is, okay, so let's do some math here, right? It's 32 rooms in a Sanctum run, and deferrals make up something like 40%. Deferral is what I'm internally calling the offer reward here. It makes up around 40% of the rooms.
Wow.
And so if you're offered an average of a whole bunch of chaos orbs, I think the example there had like 18, but obviously the currency numbers will vary a lot, then and you were to defer those entirely to the end of the Sanctum run, you would be getting hundreds of currency. And it can have divines, mirrors, and various other stuff in there moderately rarely. So it's entirely possible that were you to defer everything to the end in a big gamble, you could receive a very, very large payout. Now, of course, deferring it to the end of the Sanctum is a crazy strategy. We don't recommend that. It will end in tears. Only do this if you're confident in this run. It's set up so that the rewards for immediately taking them are still worthwhile. If you play the Sanctum and just took the reward immediately, it's a decent amount of currency that makes it worthwhile on top of the other rewards you're getting. But there's always the temptation of the end of the floor. The floor one is the one that's juiced a little bit. Of course, in later floors, the end of the Sanctum doesn't look very far away. And if you know you're having a good run, you've got confidence, then why not take the extra reward by doing the big gamble?
This deferral mechanic's super interesting actually, because you've designed leagues where you get like some reward immediately, and then you've designed leagues where you do like a lot of content and then get a ton of rewards all at once. So this allows the players to have control over that mechanic and make that decision for themselves. Have you like kind of? Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, this is because roguelikes have good runs and bad runs. If you're having a bad run, take the rewards
Right.
now and get as far as you can. If you're having a great run, that gives you the ability to make an ultimatum-like gamble.
Yeah, right. You can make those strategic decisions kind of based on like this has been a brutal slog. I am no way am I getting through this. I'm gonna check out now. Got it. Makes sense. Have you thought about like the player mindset of just like I always gonna take the big one? Because I look at it and I'm like I'm always gonna take the one, and I'm the biggest one. I'm never gonna get it because I'm always gonna die.
Obviously, players want to min-max stuff. They want to get the best result, but the best result may pragmatically say, I'm going to take this reward that's in a shorter time frame. Plus, okay, so anyone who's done economics or finance understands the concept of the time value of money. $1 now is worth more than $1 later because you can put it to use right now. And when these full Sanctum runs taking 30 maps, maybe getting a pile of chaoses, potentially some higher currency like exalts and divines, a few maps from now is actually better for your character development than getting a very large pile in 20 maps. Maybe, especially when there's a conditional element to that. It may be that getting something a few maps from now that you can then trade to get more progression is actually better for you. So there are a lot of hard decisions which we put on the table here for the players.
Damn, I'm gonna have to dig out my old economics textbooks.
That's Excel, right?
Yeah, now you're speaking our language. Let's talk the resolve mechanic. So to clarify, resolve is an independent health bar for the
Yes.
Forbidden Sanctum specifically, and when your resolve runs out, you're kicked out of the Sanctum, dead or not, right?
That's correct. Now, I noticed the reaction when we're announcing the resolve system there is a lot of players said, why? As though this is a negative thing, but I want to have a chance to explain it. So we tried very hard initially to work out a system here that works with your player life. Then there's no
You saying
additional
people are
paths.
complaining?
The problem is, though,
They
path
can
of
get outta
Excel's
here.
player life fluctuates up and down rapidly. You're constantly healing yourself. You've got recovery. There's no
I left, but
persistence
I
to
was
this. Your
watching
player
on my
life
phone.
is like how out of breath you are, if you see what I mean. It's a very brief, it's almost like your heartbeat to some extent. And so if we were to say, look, if you lose some life in this room, then when you
Look, I
come back
may
into the
regret
next room,
saying
that
this
life is going to
later.
be missing. So you've got
I
a kind
hope
of a
this goes
progression through
core.
the sanctum. Then they just press 1 and heal themselves fully and carry on playing. And so our experiments where there's no meta progression in it do not function as a roguelike. There has to be a thing where you get worn down. Having said that, half of the plan here, half of the strategy you have to do in your sanctum is work out how you are recovering your resolve. And there are lots of different ways. It's along the lines, I mean, it's as simple as if your resolve is lower than you'd like because the sanctum one is one you're struggling with, then you have to start pathing through various things like fountains or choosing boons which enable more resolve recovery. And every time you have to choose something focusing on resolve recovery,
This
you're
reminds me of
implicitly losing
Hades.
some other thing you could be getting, like more rewards or a different axis of power. And so the degree to which you're struggling with the run forces you to focus on staying alive and not getting rewards. But conversely, this means if you're having a good run where you are not struggling at all, you can just kind of ignore your resolve and focus on becoming super powerful. And this works really well as a roguelike. And I would really encourage people to try it out before judging it based on the fact that it's an additional life bar. We don't add those kind of things, for no reason. And it means as well that you don't have as much pressure on your actual player life. And it's very interesting how build agnostic this is because it creates a situation
This
where
creates
different Path of
challenge no
Exile
matter how
players can
powerful
experience the
you
Sanctum
get,
in similar ways, despite the fact their builds play quite
which
differently.
means lots of
This
replayability.
was Q&A is super good to do because you get a chance to explain this, like how you arrived
Yeah.
at this design decision.
Completely
but you can't
understand
really
where
do it
he's
in a
going
reveal,
with this.
'cause it would
This is
Yeah, it'll
bog
take a
down
while.
the reveal for like
I
10
wanna play it
minutes.
now.
So that's super interesting. You actually touched on a topic I wanted to ask. So Resolve seems to reward high mobility play styles that can completely avoid attacks. So since mitigation doesn't affect resolve damage, how does it feel playing like a low mobility tanky melee character in the Sanctum when you kind of just be failing runs due to chip
Notice they
damage
weren't
that
dashing in
otherwise
those
is not
clips,
affecting
so
you?
it's gonna be fine.
We thought of that. So we've made it so that the resolve damage is lower if you're close to a target. Essentially, if you're melee
Okay.
and you're right in their face, then you take less resolve damage than if you're further away.
They done
And so attacks are also very telegraphed. And that means that even if you're a tanky melee character, you have an opportunity to get out of the way. You probably should consider at least a Quicksilver Flask if you're going into the Sanctum so that you have some ability to respond to stuff, but that's normal Path of Exile play. Even in Ruthless, where there's significantly
really
less
thought this
mobility skills, Quicksilver Flasks still exist. The other thing is, if your build is one where you're expecting to take a lot of resolve damage, just spec your relics into resolve recovery. Relics are your meta progression that you can choose. They're locked in for the Sanctum run, and you keep them between runs. So if you feel that you want more resolve recovery, get relics that do that. And if you're a character that's given up mobility, has some ability at the expense of maybe less damage or less tankiness or something, then there are other things they can specialize their relics into if they have enough resolve.
That taking less damage at close range thing is super interesting. Is that like kind of
I'm still
far
blown away
shot
that
mechanic
all
applied to projectile
my
attacks or
first
something?
league, all
It's
league,
like
I've
that
been
for all
like,
of the resolve
they need a
stuff, and this
roguelike
is
mode,
something that we
and I'm getting
realized
it
is
already.
necessary because the melee and tanky characters get up close, and so it's
I'm
better
getting
for
it
that to be
already.
balanced around it.
All right, cool. And just to clarify for people, if you are playing hardcore, this means you can fail the Sanctum without dying. So I was
That's
like, oh,
good.
I thought
That's
that was
For
a hardcore
hardcore
league.
people.
Right. The intention of the Forbidden Sanctum is that you will fail your Sanctum many, many times on the path to finding all of the good stuff in it. And so if that meant the hardcore character was dead and had to start again, it just wouldn't be a hardcore compatible league. And
Yep.
so a side effect of Resolve is that hardcore characters can actually engage with it without putting themselves in mortal
That's good
danger.
because I hear that
It
there's
also
certain
means,
things
of
in the
course,
game
with the
hardcore
way that
characters
experience
cannot do.
penalties work, high-level characters can play without putting their current experience so much on the line. I mean,
You can
it's
tell
still
they
very.
put
I
a
mean,
lot
I've
of
died in the
thought into
Sanctum
this league.
numerous occasions with legitimate player life deaths because I was careless, but
Mm.
it's certainly easier
They've
from a
covered a
player
lot
life
of
point of view
bases.
than, say, high-level mapping is.
Well, that kind of speaks to the concept of Resolve as a whole. It's Resolve is about how well you've done over the course of the
This is a
entire
safe way to
dungeon,
farm in
whereas your health
hardcore.
is how well you've done
You could
in this
literally just
specific
run white
engagement,
maps
which is
Yep.
an
and
interesting
farm
kind of like
currency off
two-faceted
of
approach that we
this.
don't normally have in Path of Exile. Like
That's
if you do
true.
bad at the start of a map, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the rest of the map, right?
Yeah, and it's also meant
It's a
that
safe
if
way
we
to
want
get
something to be
crafting
dangerous, we up the
currency.
resolve a bit. We don't up its damage, threatening the actual characters.
Interesting.
So
Cool.
this
All
is
right.
super
So
healthy
to
for
clarify on the
hardcore.
sanctified relics,
I don't play
these
hardcore,
new
but it
ones,
doesn't take a
where
genius
you
to
effectively
realize
can
that this is
your
good
character outside of the
for
sanctum.
hardcore players.
That's correct. Yeah, both inside and outside. So these are a permanent power progression for characters. They're hard to get. They're very end game. We're talking late maps here, and they're obviously due to the fact that they can't be crafted and can't be traded means that you are very limited in how many of these you get access to. but they are very powerful. And because of the fact that they can't be crafted or traded, we've made sure to juice the mods on them and make sure it's not watered down. These
Nice.
are relics which
Means
will
something.
significantly affect the character power of your build. Now, they are shared among all the characters on your account, meaning you can equip, from the same pool. So it does mean that if you find one for one character and you want to use it on a different
Good.
build, it's entirely possible to.
Good.
Very cool. How does the Sanctum work in a party then?
Okay.
Ooh.
Got a bunch of rules here.
Ooh.
Short answer is, as with all recent leagues, we want party play to work, but we also want
Hope
it
you're
so that
listening,
people
Ref,
don't
and
feel encouraged
my
to
drop.
cheese things through party play. And so the philosophy basically is, like, one of the problems with Arch Nemesis with the whole culling situation is that players realize when they find a certain monster that, oh, I now have to engage with other humans in order to get maximum
Because
result.
Magic Find is a
You
problem for
want
the
Sanctum
game.
to work in a party without creating the feeling that you have to engage with humans in order to get the best out of your Sanctum. It shouldn't feel like you only want to go in there when you have a whole bunch of friends who are online at the same time. So we've come up with rules that enable you to play as a party, and certainly there are some benefits for doing so, but there is also some liability to it. And so the way it
Share
works is the
resolve.
Sanctum is always that of the map owner. The person who created the map
Okay.
is the one whose Sanctum you are playing. So if Ziggy and I are playing and we're doing Ziggy's Sanctum, he's the one getting the progress for that. I'm there to help, and afterwards it would be nice if he reciprocated and we did my Sanctum as well, but it's primarily your one that's progressing. And so this means that
How do you
you are the
reward
one
the other
who
player?
makes the choices about stuff. This is the one, it's your relics matter there. We're using your gold, your boons, your afflictions, and your resolve bar.
We
That's
can
the
have
important
chat
thing to
vote.
note. If you invite other party members into your Sanctum with you, they don't just get a free ability to have their own resolve bar, which doesn't matter, or they can run around and distract the monsters. You are, as a party, sharing the resolve bar with
Okay.
the map owner. And this means that extra party members can't just go and suicide themselves on stuff to distract the monsters. They actually have to be playing properly. Party member deaths do not end the current run, so if they happen to die legitimately, that doesn't screw up what you're doing. There's a bunch of other small rules there, like party members can view the merchant and view the map, but only the map owner actually makes the choices and purchases stuff. In practice, what this means is it's fun to bring people in and play together. It
Like
does
your
give you a
friends.
small advantage from a combat point of view if you have multiple players, but you do all have to be playing cohesively. So only bring in party members you trust.
Exactly.
You can also drop party members in and out. So by that I mean, like, I can play this room with Ziggy and the next one with someone else, and because it's sharing my resources, that's compatible without having to have like a party resolve bar that's reserved for a specific group of people and so on.
All right. So if I bring a viewer in and they want to sabotage me, they could run in front of all the monsters.
Yep.
Great.
That would
So
be
good.
hilarious. You should go shoot
No,
them.
it would not be. I don't trust none of y'all.
Please. Okay. We got a couple of chat questions.
But
on the
we will
mechanics
have
specifically
days
as
where I'm
well.
gonna have
Also, I just
chat
wanted to
vote
add
on my
another one.
boons and stuff.
When you die in the Sanctum via resolve death,
Yes.
and your character flops on the ground like a fish,
Mm.
are you fully protected from taking any damage from any source, dots, anything like that? You guys have checked, right?
Yes. I
Okay.
checked this yesterday. The list of things you are like, I'll read it to you. Cannot be damaged. Minions take no actions. You have grace period. Dealt no damage. Minions have no damage. Minions cannot be damaged. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Good.
You're
Okay,
protected.
cool. Excellent. Just had to make 100% sure. We didn't want any people like, I fell over in the Sanctum and then I died when I couldn't control my character. So, good. Excellent. Losing a resolve death, TK Hectic asks, is your XP lost or is your XP protected?
My belief is, correct me if I'm, yeah. So that was the dev check. You don't lose experience if you fail out through to resolve, and that's because it isn't
A
actually a
death,
death.
yeah.
It doesn't increase the
Makes
deaths
sense.
count. You don't lose experience. You don't lose hardcore
But good
characters.
to be clarified.
It's entirely basically fainting and being ejected.
Gotcha. Malik asks, do we need to interact with the league mechanic every zone, or can we somehow build them up or save them to run them all at once?
You do interact with it in every zone, and it's not a particularly long encounter. These aren't very large rooms, but yes, you should interact with every zone.
Yeah,
you can't
sometimes you
save 'em. I
literally
wish
just-
you could save
you
'em.
Probably just portal in and click a fountain and leave, right? And then go back to your map.
The structure is that every room, so the basic way it works is you take the portal and you appear in a small antechamber, which enables you to make a choice. You click on the map, have a look at what the options are of where you want to go next. You can look a few ahead and you lock in a choice, and then a door, one of the 3 doors, or up to 3 doors in that room slides open. So you go through. Now you're in the actual main sanctum room. So you do whatever the objective is in there, which may be just getting to the exit or killing the guards or whatever. And this is not designed to take long. It's meant to not interrupt your mapping from a pace point of view. And then you end up in the reward room. every room has a reward, and these vary from all the things we've talked about, fountains, affliction fountains, merchant, treasure room, and so on, or the offer one, which is the item deferral, and a whole bunch of other. I should add, there are a lot of other reward rooms we haven't shown in the live stream. Like the goal here is players explore and find stuff, so we
Nice.
only showed a
Yep.
subset
Leave some of it
in
to
the
be
announcement.
explored.
And so after you've done that, you're right back into the map you were playing. And so it's a relatively quick process and does improve your sanctum progress or give you some actual currency with each room you play.
Yeah, for some behind the scenes.
I hope if they
insight,
decide
for
it
this one, we were
goes
specifically like,
core,
let's try and
that
avoid
we have a way to
spoilers
save
as
it
much
up
as
and run
possible
it
for,
all
like,
at once.
things you can
That'd be
discover in the
fun.
Forbidden Sanctum.
But I don't
So
mind
there's a
for
bit
the
of a
league.
discovery process there.
There's a lot of discovery and there's quite a lot of story as well. Like there's an actual reason why the sanctum has
Cool.
got this bad person in there and what's going on with that. But we'd much prefer people
Bad
actually
person.
enjoy that rather than us dumping it all on them here.
And bosses too. I'm very excited.
Yeah, lots of boss fights.
Ooh, lots.
Oh, the bosses.
I was thinking
I
there
wanted
might
a
be like
boss
2 or
league. I wanted
something.
roguelike.
Very good. Official
I'm
Arrow
getting
asks,
both.
do totems, when they take damage, lose your resolve? And I'll tack onto that minions as well.
Hope not.
No, they
Good.
do not.
Good.
Great. Excellent. Does self-inflicted damage affect resolve?
I don't think it does.
No blood rage.
There's a lot of shrugging. Nah. It's only damage that's tagged with affecting your resolve, like ones from the monsters.
Okay.
There are some, let's say, environmental hazards in the sanctum. You can see it briefly in some of the footage of some
Okay,
big
it
moldy
makes
orbs
sense that
flying
that
around and
gets
so on, and that
rid of
kind of
your
thing. An
resolve.
object in the middle of the room that's spewing out laser beams that rotates, for example, that stuff will hurt your resolve. But it's really telegraphed. Like it's very easy for people to deal with.
Well, there you go. That answers Monkey Dota's question as well. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is endgame changes. So the need to swap between bossing and mapping in the Atlas trees was definitely something that felt awkward. So I'm pretty excited to learn a bit more about that change.
Yes, I've
Many of
used
the nodes have
thousands
been
of
rolled
orb
into the
of
game as
unmakens.
default now
This
for
will cut
bossing.
down on that by
But
a
are there any
couple hundred.
passives that remain on the Atlas tree for bossing reward stuff? I'm guessing there are still nodes, for example, to enable the Uber versions of the various bosses, at least.
Yes, there are Uber nodes still, so if you want to play the Uber fights, you can allocate the passive. But thankfully, that's a very small investment
Okay,
that you wouldn't do
good.
particularly often. And the main problem, which is where you feel like you have to fully spec into
Yeah.
bosses and then fully unspec back into
Yep.
mapping, which is a large investment.
I didn't complain about that, but I
is
did it a
not there
lot,
anymore.
and I
And
thought
it's worth
about
noting
it.
the kind of people that are doing Uber pinnacle farming can afford the regrets to flick a passive on and off from time to time. But basically, the plan is that you can play bosses at any time without feeling like you have to respec your
Good.
tree or you're missing out on something.
I mean,
Good
it's also
change.
important to note that the Ubers are not the default bosses now, thankfully. Very good.
Oh Lord!
Some of the allocatable boss
I've
nodes
only
made
beat
things
3
more
of the
challenging
Ubers.
in addition to more rewarding. So, for example, Inevitable Ambush, which added a second Guardian to the Guardian fights. Are things like this made default behavior now, or are they still passives, or are they just gone?
The ones that add extra challenge and rewards are gone for now, but this isn't a we don't like them, they're gone forever. It's a case that we want to bring them back in some form. And we have some plans for this. They probably won't be an at 320 release, but we
in
do
a
have some
future
cool
patch.
ways
That's
where
fine.
basically the ability to opt in to the challenge and
Most
reward
people
is
aren't
not going to
gonna-
come from the tree because that creates the problems we've discussed, but it will come from somewhere. And so players will be able to get their challenge and reward back for those. But in the meantime, obviously, there's still a lot of ways you can ramp up the juice and challenge.
Is it gonna be like ESO and like you get to the boss
Jack was
and
wondering
you either
if,
read
Atlas
from the book
Tree
to
will be
make the hard
viewable
mode
today alongside
or
patch
not?
notes, or is that a little
That's
bit
what I'm
later, maybe?
thinking.
I don't think it's today, but our expectation is to release it before release so that you do get a chance to plan around it.
Okay.
You, like, activate it
Reign of
before you
Pain
start
Games
the
asks,
fight.
There was mention of boss nodes being moved from the Atlas passive tree to the bosses directly. To avoid what happened last league with loot, are there any number changes happening with the modifiers?
I'm
I hope that's what they're
I mean,
doing.
we've tried very hard to communicate everything as clearly as we can in the patch notes. I mean, I can't promise we haven't missed anything, but we have scoured stuff in order to
Oh, I
try to
bet
make
they
sure it's
have.
complete, and also written the live stream and our information up based on this kind of stuff. So we are trying very hard to disclose any small changes like that which would have an impact. I'm not aware of any stuff we haven't spoken about there.
All right. Let's talk a bit about rare monsters. I think a lot of players are very happy to read the manifesto about the
They've been
replacement
fooled.
of the Arch Nemesis system for rare monsters with a new, more, I guess, Nemesis-like system.
The smart have not been
Do you
fooled.
think that this new
I
system
didn't
will
have a
still
problem
achieve
with
the
Arch
goals that you
Nemesis,
set out
so-
to achieve with Arch Nemesis, though?
So the goal of Arch Nemesis initially was modernization of the effects and their balance. We felt that the old monster mods were just really old. We just
Yep.
basically needed to give them a fresh coat of paint.
Yep.
Now our fresh coat of paint included some stuff that players didn't like, and so we're trying very hard to make sure the new system does achieve the core goals of Arch Nemesis without having the things that people didn't like. And so, to that effect, it now does use modern effects. There's a lot of cool stuff that we weren't doing with the system that was 2 systems ago, and the balance is appropriate for current Path of
Okay,
Exile.
we'll see
So
how it
it's definitely
goes.
ticks those boxes, but at the same
I
time,
liked Arch
it's trying to be
Nemesis,
much more
but
understandable and
know,
simple and a bit
I
less in your
get
face than Arch
the
Nemesis
majority of the
was.
community did
On a
not.
very kind of just like rough feelings basis, how do you think like an old Arch Nemesis compares to a new rare monster on average?
My impression so far is that the monsters are on average a bit easier, but the key thing is this: a previous Arch Nemesis mod had a grab bag of stuff that it did. It generally made the monster do more damage in a generic sense. It
Yeah.
also had an interesting thing that happened gameplay wise, and it added a bunch of defensive properties, and often more, often on multiple axes. And so it cohesively had a kind of a this is a fire, it's going to screw you up with fire in 4 different ways kind of theme. And so therefore it applied to pretty much any character, right? It would have some way of interacting with them. The new mods are very simple. The new mods say, cool, you're not going to be able to do much fire damage to me, or I'm going to do a lot of fire damage to you, or I have a magma barrier. They just do one thing. And therefore, they're very, let's just say, Boolean against certain players. I'll give an
They
example.
dumbed it down for the dumb
Let's say
players.
you run into a rare monster with 2 mods, and those 2 mods are that it will blind you and that it's resistant to fire damage. So if you're playing a cold caster, neither of those mods affects you whatsoever. They're literally nothing. And so you can kill a monster easily and it doesn't do anything extra to you. Great. And on average, you're often encountering this. But if you're playing a fire melee character, it blinds you, which is going to affect your accuracy, and the fire damage is going to be mitigated against it. This will be a harder fight. It will wake you up a bit when you encounter it. And so you're going to find this situation where a lot more monsters are just speed bumps along the way and aren't causing a problem. And sometimes there'll be one which causes you issues because of your build. And
Makes
so
sense.
it's quite a different experience for different players. But overall, the
It's good
monsters are at a
design.
glance much simpler in terms of what they do, and you're not encountering the onerous, long, frustrating fights every single area like you were before.
See, I like that because you feel good when you're playing a build and you run into a challenge. You're like, "Ha, my build doesn't care about this at all." And you feel clever, you know.
Yeah, but that gets
Even
boring
though it's
after a
just kind of the
while.
luck of the draw on that one, but yeah, that
Yeah.
feels good. So on the
So I'm glad
modifiers,
that we're still
only
gonna be able
doing
to
what they
encounter
say, fantastic.
some challenges
However,
along
there
the
still
way.
kind of remains a problem where this information is in a small text list at the top of the screen.
What up, mustache?
Have you guys explored the idea of color coding the new modifiers in some way to help players identify them, or maybe using other systems like, I don't know, little
What
symbols,
up?
or maybe like color coded glows on monsters to denote certain effects and so on?
They do have visual effects on them in many cases, so you often can see what a monster does based on what it looks like. But otherwise, what we focus on
Just
here
for
is to
the live
succinctly
stream.
and completely describe what the monster does in text. And this is a list that has more
Getting
words
rid
than
of
Arch
all the
Nemesis, because
clutter.
Arch Nemesis would have something like Flamewalker, and then what does that mean? Who knows? You'd learn, of course, but there were 70
Dude, I'm
plus of
excited.
them.
Everything I've
And
like
so
asked
now
for
it
in this
specifically
first
says what
league,
it
they're
does. This
bringing.
may mean more reading. It may not
I've
be
been
a good
saying we need a
endpoint
roguelike
here. Like, it
mode.
might be that we need to make the things
I've been saying a
slightly
boss
more
in
concise,
league.
but I'm
Like,
really worried about us getting
dude,
back into keywording.
I
'Cause
can't
part of the
wait.
problem with keywording was then a player can't look at the keyword and actually understand what it does. So I don't know. Longer term, there are
excited.
probably solutions here. Maybe the right answer is to put
It's
some
like
color
everything
coding
I've been
back.
asking
Currently,
for,
it's
I
not
got in
color
my
coded.
second
That was
league.
something which went with the keywords in Arch Nemesis.
Dude,
It
I'm
could
excited.
be restored, but we'd like people to
I
play and give
love
us some feedback. If you
roguelikes.
guys can
And I've been
suggest
saying I'd
how
love a
the
roguelike
mods
Path
can
of
be made
Exile,
further
and
clear,
bam,
so
there
that
it
you can
is.
easily identify them while you're playing, that's really useful. Have a go. We're open to feedback here. We want to make sure the monster mod system achieves our goals and is still easy to
And more
read.
bosses,
Yeah,
more
I think the color
mechanics.
coding
Like,
would
let's
be a good
go.
thing. It could be something that could be done gradually over time as well. Like you start with elementally aligned things are color coded alongside their elements, for example.
One thing we have done, and this isn't something we spoke about on the live stream, is that the text under the monsters that says like resist fire, resist cold, or vulnerable to fire, vulnerable to cold, the one that kicks in when they have approximately 15% resistance, was feeling a bit spammy alongside all these mods. Like when we're asking you
Right.
to read 2 or 3 short lines of mod text, having like resist fire, resist cold underneath it as well was quite a lot. And
I
so
know
we've
what
moved those
Torghast
to little
is,
symbols over on the right of
but
the life bar.
Final
And so if
Fantasy's
you're the
version
kind of
was
character who
100
cares
times
about which
better.
monsters are fire resistant,
But I've
you're
played a
just
lot of
glancing at symbols
roguelikes.
now
This
rather
is
than trying to
more
read text,
like
and that's helped declutter
Hades.
it
If
quite
you
a
ever
bit.
played
So that's
Hades,
great. That sounds awesome. I look forward to seeing that. Yeah, it's kind of like what I was talking about. Yeah, little symbols in the life bar. It's a great idea.
I heard
Excellent. Good
Torghast
to
was
know.
not good. So
So
please
sort of
don't.
the loot goblin issue.
Please
It
don't
seems
co-
like it'll be solved by players.
WoW
simply
is a
just
bad
not
example
knowing
of a
which monster is
roguelike.
going to be the big loot pinata.
If you're
Good
thinking
news indeed.
Torghast, I already know how
But
people
how
feel
do you feel
about it.
about
So
the
please
loot
just get that out of your
conversion
head.
system overall? Because I thought this system was quite interesting, but maybe a little bit tainted.
I never
by
played
how
Torghast,
it
but I
was
know what it
implemented.
is.
So for the unfamiliar, the loot conversion system is this new system that takes what a monster would
Blizzard's
usually
good at
drop and
screwing
converts it
things
into
up,
a new
so
type of reward, like all currency, for example.
So we've reviewed the loot conversions and added some new ones, dropped some old ones, like
I
the
didn't
ones
even
that just
think of
gave you
it that
piles and
way.
piles of flasks, for example. As far as I
Yeah,
know, that
if
doesn't exist
Torghast
anymore.
left a
And
bad
we've gone
taste
through
in
and
your
made
mouth,
sure
I
that
could
user
see why
feedback
you're
that
on the
people have had.
fence.
The special. So the way it works is
But you should see my Steam
rare
library.
monsters
I
drop more
play a
items
lot
than
of
regular monsters.
roguelikes.
By itself, that should be enough reward. But we want it to be interesting, and we want people to feel like they're really, that there's an extra reason to kill rare monsters because you could otherwise ignore them. And so you basically have these bonus drops that can occur. And bonus drops include conversions, but they also include a lot of other stuff. And
Oh.
there's a chance of getting the bonus drops that's proportional to the mods that are on the monster. For example, if a monster has 2 mods on it, then it has 2 chances to get a bonus. If it has 4 mods, it has 4 chances to get a
I've loved
bonus. And the
everything that's
individual
come out of
mods
his
have higher
mouth today.
chances where I believe like the more
I
difficult
gotta
ones, like
see
for
what
example,
this
if there's one
sword does
that's
because I'm picking a sword
similar to one
build.
of the old Pantheon mods, and that it does,
But you
like
said
it
they're gonna be
evokes
like
some,
headhunter
god who
rare,
comes
so
and
I might
smites you, for
never see
example,
one.
then it is significantly higher. There's a significantly higher chance that it's going to have a special drop here. And what you find is when a monster has, the convergence of all of the really
He
big mods on
stated
it,
that
it's a
it's
hard
gonna
fight.
be as
That results
rare
in there
as
being a
getting a
very high
headhunter
chance
or
of one of these
mage
special
blood.
drops, which is potentially a conversion or potentially one of the other ones we haven't spoken about yet. And this
So I'm
results in a thing
curious
where
to
you have a
see
lot of
what the
incentive to
numbers are
fight
gonna
rare
look like
monsters,
on
a lot
that
of
drop
incentive to fight
rate.
hard rare monsters, but you don't feel that you can assess a monster beforehand and then try to min-max what your exact party composition should be in order to get the maximum rewards from that fight. We've also tried to smooth
I
this
don't
out
even
a
know
bit
what it
more. Like
does,
the thing in the
but
past where you could potentially, under the right circumstances, get dozens and dozens of divines from a monster, and then everyone else feels like they're
I
getting
just saw
nothing,
bigger
was
numbers from
great.
old
So
to
we're
new.
trying to make sure
Much
that there are
bigger
still
numbers.
spikes, but it's a bit less spiky than before. There's a bit more spread across all of the different things, and a lot of the bad options are a bit better now.
A lot more variety too, it sounds like. Is this something you've
Yeah,
considered
but he had a
doing to
really
map
good
bosses as
point.
well? Like,
You
map
can't
bosses have
make uniques
definitely
too
gotten better over
strong,
time in terms
or
of
else
rewarding more
everybody's gonna
interesting, which I
use it and
like.
not use
But it still
rares.
seems like
So
in
you
a lot
have
of
to
cases they
balance
could
that
be a little
out with making
spicier.
something
It's
a bit
worth looking
harder
into.
to
Yeah, we've been
get. It
focusing
made perfect
this
sense
cycle
what
on
he
trying to
said.
get the monster mods into a good place and to scrub all the arch nemesis off everything.
Yes. Oh, feels good.
I mean, that's generally what
those
the
power
problem with
washing
uniques
videos?
are
It's like
right
that.
now. Like, there's
Gotta
a
get my
lot of good
gurney out and
uniques in the
hose
game, but they
off
get
the arch nemesis
overshadowed
filth.
by like more powerful uniques, so nobody
Oh,
ever
dear.
uses them.
Definitely threw me there. A lot of people in chat asked, how will Headhunter work with the new monster mods?
Okay, this is the first question we're expecting. There are way more mods now, and that means Headhunter players that are getting a lot of mods cap out later. Previously, because there were relatively few Arch Nemesis mods, I mean, there were still dozens to be fair, but there were fewer. Once you've got them all active, you can't get more. Whereas here, there are far more mods, and so you can have far more upper end power. Having said that, these do less than the Arch Nemesis mods because that's what you asked us to do. And
Yeah.
so they do implicitly.
The players
at
asked
the low
for,
end,
for a
Headhunter
nerf
is less
to their
powerful. At the
favorite
high end,
item, and they
Headhunter is
didn't
more
even
powerful.
realize it.
You pick which is best.
It's a kind of a slower ramp up to a
I didn't
higher
think of that
potential
either.
city. You asked for
And we're
this.
calling Headhunter Val Cleave now.
Excellent.
I didn't even think of it that
Immortalum
way.
asks, does that mean no more fractured flasks because of the flask thing being removed?
Do you happen to know that?
Well, a zero flask conversion, if not, then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the flask conversion is gone. That and the like piles of whetstones ones are 2 examples.
The monster drop in the fracture conversion.
Yeah.
Fracture.
Yeah, it'll fracture regular flask drops.
Okay. Simple Cookie asks, will the Atlas passive that increase the amount of mods on rare monsters be added back with the new rare monster changes?
I don't think it has been. Do you know that? Yeah. I mean, we certainly discussed it, but we want to kind of get a vanilla experience here of how many rare monster mods is appropriate, and an issue with feedback is if there are ways to juice it up and then people say there are too many mods, we don't know if they necessarily had that active. So we'll consider it for the future, but this has been year of rare monster mods, so let's just try this new system and see if people appreciate
One
the
step at a
changes, and then we
time.
can look at further changes to it.
It's been a wild ride, Chris.
Mm.
All right. So recently you swapped kind of Divine and Exalted Orbs around. Now that we've had a league with the various changes surrounding these high-end currencies, I'd like to know what were the goals of effectively swapping Divines and Exalts, and how effective have the changes been?
Well, the goals were that exalts were used more for crafting, that someone would actually consider taking an item and using an exalted orb to get another mod that is random. That's happening now, a
I'm
lot
about
more
to
than it was
say,
before.
I've only played one
Secondly,
league,
we
and
want
I've
it to be
used a lot
harder
of
to
exalts
divine
on my
items,
items.
not just because we're mean, but because it makes
only used one
well-rolled uniques more
divine.
valuable. Previously, because
Ever.
divines were really accessible, well, relatively accessible,
Except for
it
the
meant that
crafting
if you
bench.
have a really rolled
So
unique,
I've
it
used
didn't really
lots of
feel that special
divines.
because someone can slam a few divines into it to get something like that. Now there is quite a wide variance of stuff. Like look at something like Brass Dome, for example,
But it
where
doesn't
the
feel bad just to slam
you know,
something. You're like,
the
oh, it's
worst
just one
versions of it are worth
exalt.
quite a lot
So
less than the really good ones, and that's more fun because then you find something that's just a much better version of something
I
that someone
probably
else
wouldn't have
has that's worth
slammed
less, and you
anything
feel
if
good
I had
about
to
that.
do a divine.
These goals were achieved, right? Like it certainly is harder to divine
Or I'd
items. It is
slam
easier
things
to
a lot
exalt them.
less.
The economy survived. Life goes on. We'll continue to make broad changes whenever we feel like it that affect the economy, but it's sometimes good to just cause a bit of a shift in how people value items so you don't get entrenched values. You don't get people
Yep,
believing,
mix
oh, this
things
item
up.
is 6x forever. You know, it changes because the game changes.
So for the standard players that are still coping with their stash full of exalts because they couldn't
Oh,
turn them
standard
over in time.
players.
This is
They'll be
like,
all right. It's just
seriously, like,
standard.
oh, I had entirely all my
Just
money in
standard
Bitcoin and
league.
now it's worthless, right? Like
You compared
diversify,
it to
right? Again,
cryptocurrency.
economics.
Chris is teaching multiple economics lessons today.
Architects will set you up for life.
I'm
Have
sorry,
a diversified
mustache.
portfolio of currency
I don't
items.
think I'll ever play my standard
Okay.
character. I'll have them for memories,
It's
It's
but
really-
currency. Keep some rares, keep some crafting stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
On
you gotta invest in some
standard.
high-end one-of-a-kind items, right?
some old skin maps, maybe alternate.
I
Oh,
feel you
yeah.
I
though.
found
I
out
feel
I
I
had this
feel
red
your
beak on my
pain.
account from the early race seasons. Like I'm talking, I logged in to do races back in 2013 to literally test they were working and got an alternate art red beak, and now it's worth a mirror in standard.
But the beauty of standard
is
is
it?
you can
I'm pretty sure
farm
I
on
have
that
one of
character
those.
forever and ever,
Well, I mean that
Nice.
was just with a quick
not
search,
just for a
but
league.
yeah.
So
So invest in a variety of different items in your standard portfolio if you don't want to get wrecked by
oh, I
economic
bet
changes.
you
If
got
only I
all the
played in
time in the
standard,
world
I'd
to
be
min
rich.
max on
So
standard.
good.
On a league, you have 3
It's interesting to see
months.
some new
So
Val
yeah, I get it.
skills. It's certainly been a while. I tried to like look up exactly when, and I think 3.3 incursion was the last time, which was get ready, 17 leagues ago. So powerful, longer cooldown
And
of
I'm
like
only on
ultimate
League
skills
1
make gameplay quite a bit
for me.
more engaging, I think. And a lot of people love Val
Oh, I
skills
bet
for
it
that
is.
reason. It's certainly an underutilized skill category, though, not something you add new skills to all the time. So how do you decide then
Bet it's
whether
a
to make a
mess.
skill, a Val skill, or just a regular skill that does a similar thing?
Well, if we're trying to come up with an ultimate skill, Val skills are ones that we have a control over you and
I've already
using
got an idea for
periodically,
the new
whereas
league
regular
mechanic.
skills we generally don't
Once
put
we
big
like
cooldowns
get
on them
used
unless
to
it's a
it,
bypassable
I'm gonna
thing.
start
So if
having
it's
chat
something where
like vote
there's a
on
good
what
cooldown
boons I
bypass
take and
mechanism, it'll
stuff.
probably be a regular skill.
Mm.
Now,
It's
the
gonna be
thing we're doing
awesome.
with Val skills here is we want to buff
We're gonna have
melee.
voting
There are a
sessions.
number of like you may be thinking, wow, that's a lot of changes to melee, or you may
Let
be thinking,
chat
where are all the melee
be in
changes,
charge of
depending
my
on whether you happen to
runs.
notice stuff. But the changes to endgame unique weapons affect melee. The Val skill stuff affects melee in a way I'll discuss in a second. There's a bunch of other bits and pieces like melee splash is being added to as a node on the passive tree. And we have some, I'm not supposed to talk about the details because it's secret, but you'll find there's some totem mastery that affects melee in an interesting way. So there's a few bits and pieces that together actually do make quite a cohesive set of melee
Of course,
buffs.
I'm
But
gonna
the
get
theory
through
with
all the
Val
mapping and
ones
stuff, but I can't
is
wait to get into
we
it.
targeted a set of weaker melee skills where previously, if the player is using that skill, they just do the damage they were doing.
Dude,
and rather
I'm
than just
telling
saying,
you, I
oh, we're
love
going to give the
roguelike
skill a little bit
games.
more damage, which has various issues, we've created a Val version, which at face value means that every X attacks, you get to do a more powerful one, which is an indirect buff. But we've tried to design many of these Val skills so that they also directly buff the main version, like Val Cleave is an example, where if you're using Val Cleave occasionally, your cleaves themselves are more powerful. And so it's doing a more
Oh,
powerful
yeah?
attack sometimes and increasing the power of your other attacks the rest of the time. And because of the change where using the Val gem
Are they gonna
gives you
talk
the
about
regular
skill
version of the
nerfs
skill,
today?
then there's no excuse not to be
Is
using
my
Val
lightning
Cleave
strike
if
gonna
you
get
were
nerfed?
playing a Cleave character. And so overall, there are a lot of Val skills there that
I'm gonna cry myself to
cause
sleep
melee
tonight.
characters to be quite a lot more powerful. It also meant
That's in
that
the
we
patch
could, for
notes.
example,
We'll have to go over that
target skills
when
that
it
we felt needed
releases.
it. Now, when you see the patch notes
It
on a little
probably
bit,
will
you'll notice there's
die.
a small nerf to lightning strike, right? And you may be thinking, well, if we're
Yep,
trying to
both
buff
of them are
melee,
gonna
what are
get
you
hit.
doing nerfing lightning strike? And the answer is it's far, 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 far better than the
It'll
other
be
melee
alright. I'm playing a
skills.
different build
And
this
so
league, so
we're buffing the category, but that doesn't mean that every skill needs to come out entirely, entirely with additional
y'all
damage on
suggested
it.
Flicker
And so you'll
Strike
find
the
that
other night,
melee
so
overall is more powerful,
and I saw the
but
Flicker
within the
Strike
melee category,
changes.
there's quite a lot
Ball
more
Flicker
options
Strike.
available than there were before.
That may be the one we go with.
So yeah, you like Val Cleave's a little underutilized, +2
But I
radius,
don't
not
know if
enough.
that'll be good for
Just give a mini
bossing and the
headhunter.
new league
Uh-huh.
mechanic, so I'll have to make a
Should
second
do. A
character.
Vol skill's then a concept that's likely to carry forth into Path of Exile 2 with its altered skill fit system, even.
No comment.
Okay. Nice.
I like your thinking,
Frozen
Mustache.
Legion
Like when
is a
I
pretty big news as
what do I
well.
want to build
So,
next?
to
I
clarify,
want
for
to
people who
use what
missed the
people aren't
particular
using.
details about
So
it, it's actually a spell that summons statues that then attack with your weapon, right?
Yep, that's
Super
correct.
cool.
I had the same idea. I was like, I'm gonna go
Spell
to the
attack.
bottom of the list.
So you've done it now. There's nothing to stop you from casting a spell that
But
shoots
I may
your
be
bow's
too new
arrow,
of a
or
player to do something
attack
like that right now.
casts a spell that then does another attack. So, is this something you're gonna explore more potentially?
I'd say consider this as a hint at the way we're designing some Path of Exile 2 skills.
A little bit more going on. I like it. Very cool. We have a couple extra chat questions here. Oh, everyone was asking about divine shards. Yeah, I see your chat. I see you spamming divine shards. Okay, everyone wants to know, are divine shards going to be a thing?
I'll be watching you,
They're
Mustache.
called Chaos Orbs.
I'll blow it up.
Shards have problems. Okay, so we designed Path of Exile to get away from the concept of there being a homogeneous
The
gold currency
Harbinger
in games,
changes
right?
are
And I
really
understand
good.
every
The
league
beast
we do
crafting
introduce gold in
changes
it, but
really
that's,
good.
you know, within the confines of that
Them
particular
taking
scope. But overall, in main Path of
fractures
Exile,
off
we want to
the
make sure that the
horticrafting
currency
bench,
items have
good.
fluctuating
Because
values
now you can
relative
spend
to
your
each other. It's very
horticrafting currency
important
on other
as part of the way that
things.
trade works. And so taking something like Divine Orbs that are the de facto currency for high-end trades and adding a granular, proportional, like Divine Sense thing is not something
So
that we
beast
would do
crafting
unless
got
there was a good
buffed. I
reason
wonder
for
how
it.
expensive
so
buying those memories are going to
we'd
be,
have no
though.
plans to add Divine Shards. We think it would potentially be negative. It's okay to use cheaper currency as the Divine Shards. Like, you can take Chaos Orbs and turn them into Divines through trade or other mechanisms. The value fluctuates, but that's what we want it to be doing.
All right. Booze Addicts asks, do the clones from the new skills count as minions? That'll be the Frozen Legion. I only ever saw them referred to as statues.
Probably not.
They do not.
Yeah.
Clones
Right.
like Val Double Strike or Arrow Strike.
Yeah, so it's like Val Double Strike, for example.
The attack onto plane asks, does Val Flicker attack one target multiple times? So does it have like boss applications?
All
then, or is it more
flicker
about
looks
pack clear?
sick.
Can hit the same target more than once, so on a boss, every single target.
Yeah. Against a single target, it will do every single hit against that target.
Very anime.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay.
It is very anime, yes.
That skill looks cool too. The
Let's talk
statue
crafting
one.
and league mechanics a little bit. So, challenge leagues in Path of Exile have always been a place for you guys to experiment
look
with
it up.
systems. Some of them intended to go core, if they work out, for example, but otherwise, others are like never really intended to go core, and they're just specifically for that. But even in that case, I imagine there's a chance that they can give you some useful information to inform future design. So crafting systems have been a bit of a trend lately, I notice, with leagues, like Sentinel Recombinators, for example, and Lake of Calandra Mirroring. Some of these crafting systems end up being particularly liked by the players too. I think people really like the Recombinators. Are these sorts of new crafting systems designed with becoming core features in mind, or are they more experiments to explore future design possibilities? And is crafting system something that you're keen to keep experimenting with?
We want to introduce something new in every league, a new way of getting items, or a new thing you can do with items. We found that if we leave it in the game just as a de facto thing, then you accumulate dozens and dozens
Yeah.
and dozens of systems that create both power creep and complexity creep
Yep.
for the way the crafting works. And that's good. Path of Exile is meant to have that stuff,
But
and
too
power creep
much
is
is-
natural, and there's no big problem there. But we have found that introducing stuff like recombinators and then turning it off until we've had a good think about how it fits in is probably safer. Like, a lot of expectations with Harvest would have been reduced if we hadn't reintegrated it into the game before we were ready to and before we fully understood the consequences of that. And so with the mist from Lake of Calandra or the recombinators, we are looking for ways that we can bring them back. And
But
we
in
do
a way that makes
plan to
sense.
continue to introduce systems like this, some of which will stick around, some of which won't. An example is Sanctified Relics in the Sanctum offer a lot of character power, and that's a Sanctum-specific thing. We don't expect that Sanctified Relics will necessarily exist after Sanctum is finished. Maybe we make it core, maybe we don't, maybe we keep them, maybe we don't, but they're a thing for that league that let you experiment with builds that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. There are a lot of things in there which let you push your build further than you normally would, and that's something that's cool about the Sanctum League. It may be that it becomes a permanent part of Path of Exile later, and we are looking for ways to bring stuff back. Like, I don't know if this is actually a thing, but at least in our planning, one of the things that the monster mods could cause, you know how they have those special drops that occur that we were speaking about a few minutes ago, one of the things that they could drop was the mist that mirrors from Calandra, for example, the one that gives you the 2 currency items. I don't know what form that will be in. If it's in 320, we're still sorting out the details of some of the exotic ones like that. But that's an example of us taking a system that was used as a reward mechanic for a league and then making it a rare reward from another system in the game.
Cool. Speaking of things that potentially can come back in the future, is there any word on Ultimatum?
Ultimatum is split into 2 pieces. There's the boss fights with the uniques. They're back in the game, as of like last league, I think, or the one before. Time is a blur. And then there's the actual Ultimatum mechanic. Now, we have a plan for the Ultimatum mechanic, and we mentioned there is a plan for a while, and that plan is not due yet, but it is coming at some point until it changes. Having said that, the offer/deferral system in Sanctum does feel a lot like it. This is where we say, here is a thing, or you can keep going in order to double it, essentially, but with quite a lot more doubling going on. And so players who liked the risk of Ultimatum will certainly like that mechanic.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see the parallel there. Very briefly, just 2 small questions on Ruthless. How has the player interest and reception been to the Ruthless Alpha from your perspective?
The alpha testers are very positive. That's really good to see. I'm glad to see they're enjoying it, and
Yeah, I've heard
hopefully
nothing but good
those who
things. I
couldn't
wish
get
I
into the
got an
alpha and who are
invite.
interested in that mode can have a chance to check it out when it launches
How you
alongside
gonna let
320.
that go? I wanted to
Alright.
play it.
Is Ruthless a mode that you want to keep making changes to long term, like rebalancing skills specifically for the mode, for example?
We will do some Ruthless specific skill balance. Currently, the focus was on
Sure.
getting fundamentals in place, like getting the mode to function. And then if we find time later, we'll be able to use it to make whatever changes are needed on specific skills. And to some extent, with, as you know, with the way Path of Exile works, if there's a skill that's dominant and somewhat trivializing stuff, then we won't have any qualms
Like
about
the ice dot that I've
ruthlessly
seen
nerfing
everybody
that in that
using on
mode.
it.
Now, there's a fundamental philosophy difference, right? A player who's playing the main game will get upset if we nerf their skills. And this is because it's the way they like to play Path of Exile. If we just decide we hate minion characters one day, then all these people who come to Path of Exile to enjoy playing minion characters as a reliable way they can engage with the game would be upset that now they can't do the thing they like. In Ruthless, all bets are off. We will make
We'll
whatever
gut
changes
your
we feel like, and it
minions.
will stay hard, and you will have to adapt.
Cut 'em
and,
all
You
down.
know, the Ruthless players are big boys. They can deal with this,
Yep, true.
and it should be fine. So we will make some skill-specific
First thing
changes,
that's
and
gonna go is the
very
cold dot
likely that those
everybody's
changes are
playing on
not the same as
Ruthless.
balance changes that we do in the core game. In the core game, we want to make sure all the archetypes are viable and there's good diversity and that kind of stuff. But in Ruthless, we have other objectives.
I'm going to spam you with some uncategorized random questions from chat now.
Bring
Kyle MC asks, how does quantity and rarity affect the Sanctum? And I'll append to that another
probably
question I saw someone
won't.
ask. Map
hope it
mods don't
doesn't.
affect the Sanctum, right?
Not a
That's
fan of
separate
Magic
zone.
Find.
Yeah, your map mods do not affect the Sanctum.
Okay, good.
Quantity and rarity on your character will affect your drops you get from the
The
monsters, I
monsters,
believe,
that's
right?
fine.
There are monsters in the Sanctum that you can kill, and they drop items. So it's not like, you know, the
But I
goal is
can
that
go
when
in
you're
there with
mapping, it
whatever
doesn't
character I
reduce the amount of
want.
item drops you're getting by going and playing in the Sanctum. You do get drops, and those monsters are technically unique monsters, so technically they're pretty juiced, and quantum rarity do affect
Okay,
that. So
I can
going into the
compromise with
Sanctum,
that.
killing some monsters is roughly similar to killing monsters in the map that you came from, plus all the Sanctum rewards on top.
Nice. Damaris asks, how endgame is the new mechanic? So that'd be Sanctum. Does that
Hopefully it's
encounter you
uber
kind of that on like the first
endgame.
beach as you start the campaign, or is it kick in later?
Yep, kicks in right at the beginning. So basically, you
Oh,
start doing your
nice.
first Sanctum at level like 2 or whatever.
Hell
as
yeah.
you get into the coast, and you probably won't get very far in those Sanctum runs, but it's a good opportunity to start learning.
Yep.
Start accumulating some relics and so on, and you'll need them because later on it gets really hard. There are some things in the Sanctum, like the special endgame uniques, that can only be dropped if you are very high in maps, because they're very, very powerful pinnacle things. But yeah, it does play throughout the entire campaign.
Sweet.
Great. El Swigo asks, if Soul Take is going to be so insanely rare, what does this mean for Kingmaker, the item that you can make out of Soul Taker?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I'm just going to smile. We thought of that one.
Oh, okay. Mystery.
Maybe it's been buffed as well.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Something to be revealed
So-
potentially then, I'm getting chat. Will our Star Forges or Line Eyes Glares sitting in standard be buffable to their Headhunter
that a
tier strengths
sword?
with a Divine Orb?
Yep. I know,
Nice.
it's stupid, isn't it? But But we had to do that because it's fair and because of divination cards that you could have been hoarding and all the other things. So yeah, you get some free ridiculous items in standard if you had diversified into them.
Standard chat trade is exploding right now. Excellent.
The
Someone
trade
says,
market on Kalandra is
"Stonks."
shifting as we
That's
speak.
great.
Things just got
okay.
expensive.
FDXPO asks, with endgame unique weapons becoming more rare, what about their respective divination cards like Starforges, for example?
Yes, we are adjusting the divination cards. This means in standard, the old divination cards are now worth more.
All right.
I can't wait to see the div
Um,
card changes. I got a good idea for a YouTube
Man with Hat,
series.
any plans
has
to decouple
involves div
melee
cards,
from
though.
buffs granted by totems, Ancestral Protector, or War Chief?
This is actually a hot topic internally. I don't know the answer. Like, I think it's the case where our designers acknowledge this is a problem and are looking for solutions, but maybe we've doubled down on it a little bit in this one because of that totem mastery I mentioned before. You'll see
That's
what
true.
I mean.
Wait and see. Doug Izzle, will Ruthless launch on console at League launch too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Great. Lots of ultimatum questions, which we already asked. Theory Crafter and many other people ask, is Reforge keep prefix / suffix coming back in some shape or form? Speaking of things coming back.
I'm not aware of it coming back. No, sorry.
Okay. And is there any ETA on the next mystery box release from Forest Bishop?
It's likely to be at the League launch or within a day or so of it.
All right. Spooky asks, Chris, can you please share your current thoughts on the loss of the historic buff to loot? There you go. That's a big one.
So this is one of those tricky things where, like, we feel people completely misunderstood what is there, and like we didn't want to go on a big rant and try to correct people, but we posted some numbers at some point during the league and then left it. But it boils down to this: if you're a regular player playing regular content, as we can see based on like looking at what regular players are doing, and by regular I mean people in red maps, then there is no loss of anything. It's better than it was before. Like Sentinel is higher than it was previously, and people didn't believe us. They said doubt. They weren't happy with that, so we just stopped trying to push the point. If you were one of those groups that were juicing stuff to insane degrees with 6-person
Magic
parties and
find
all the crazy
groups.
stuff going on and using exactly the right league mechanics with exactly the right stuff, then yeah, absolutely there was a nerf there. And for some reason, the community like feeling about this was that we nerfed the average person. Like, it's a little bit of a Robin Hood thing where we tried to take from the rich and give to the poor, and the communication around the whole thing was poorly done. We didn't explain it.
The rich
like,
are getting
patch note
richer
it
and the
correctly.
poor are
We didn't
getting
communicate
poorer.
about
I
it. We
said
didn't really
that
understand the
last
nature of the
week.
changes fully ourselves. But where we got it to with the buffs we did was better than where it was before, unless you were doing one of the crazy juice situations. And so it was frustrating for us because we felt that the miscommunication had kind of the miscommunication is our fault, but we
Telling you
felt the
they
whole
need to
situation kind
rework
of ran
Magic
away and
Find.
caused people
They're
to really
scared
hate
to
the
do
loot
it.
situation more than they should have done. Anyway, I
Just
think
rip the
that
Band-Aid off.
this has taught us a lot of lessons about communication, but
And
there's no
rip
need
it
to
off.
further improve drops related to that. The amount of currency and stuff that you're getting, and uniques, in fact, especially uniques that you're getting for regular gameplay involving a variety of different leagues, does exceed what it was in 3.18. It's just that if you're playing the crazy Imperium style stuff as we describe it, then you're certainly getting less, and that was an intentional part of the change.
Good.
Has there been some sort of change to the way that you're like approaching the reveals and the patch noting and stuff? Maybe like with how you're describing some things, because you don't like you historically you've never revealed everything. Like there's a lot of stuff that's considered not in patch notable changes, for example. Has that changed at all over time?
Historically, we've tried very hard not to talk about drop rate changes. If we feel that something drops too often, we'll just change it. And for decades, well, not decades, but more than a decade, we have followed that policy. Having said that,
Makes
we
sense.
should have talked about the changes to the quantity and rarity bonuses from different league content, because it does affect decisions people are making. There was stuff before that was really juicy and everyone wanted to play that, and we tried to make it more fair so the leagues were
Welcome
roughly
back.
equal. And that's something that should have been communicated more clearly, and we certainly learned the lesson there. And the lack of communication there was not malicious, it was entirely just like ignorance on our part. There was miscommunications internally. I missed the memo almost literally, and that meant that it wasn't as much part of the marketing as
It
it should have
is.
been.
I already got my
And
drop.
we certainly have tried very hard
And
this time
drops are
not to make the
enabled on
same
my
mistake
stream,
again.
but ain't nobody tuning
Oh, yeah.
in.
Good to hear. Thank you very much for the insights, Chris, and
That
thank you for
mustache.
spending this time together with us, the Q&A. I'll let you get to it, and
Most people
we'll let
are
him
on the
release
main-
the patch
main
notes
channel.
so that everyone can have a read. Thank you very
All right,
much.
enjoy everyone. Thanks so much.
See you later, everyone.
Loved it. Loved the Q&A. Is that it? Is that it? Yep. Man, that... I'm not gonna lie. That was so much better than I thought it was gonna be. I was not expecting all that. For my second league, like... Oh man, I can't wait. I kept saying that I was hoping that the next league was going to be a Boston league, and it kind of is, but better. A roguelike Boston league. I love all the crafting changes, the Atlas changes. Like, I don't think there's anything that I didn't like that was in this. All the manifestos I've loved. I cannot wait to get into altar farming next league. And I get to do the roguelike stuff while I'm altar farming at the same time. Oh, it's going to be good. I just got to make sure I pick me a nice build. Oh, that's the old website. I've seen that. I've gotten a couple of them. I did think that was an interesting item when I first read it. So you stack mana. You stack mana. You want big mana. Big mana. Is that what you're thinking? That's my first inclination. Like, if I was gonna make a build around this, like, I could be completely wrong because I'm still a new player, but you want big mana, right? Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Have you put something together in POB yet to check the numbers out? Good, good. Yeah, when I first found this item, I think I have one on my sale list now. When I first found this item, I was like thinking like this would be a cool item to make a build out of. But I think about that for like most of the uniques I find because they're all new to me. Arcane Cloak Gem. Oh, I already see part of the description. I hate when like the .NET site just doesn't show up. We're gonna use the old one. Spends a portion of your mana to grant a buff that takes some of the damage from hits for you until depleted. So kind of like a molten shell. The buff grants added lightning damage based on the amount of mana spent by this skill. Okay. Shares a cooldown with other guard skills, so you wouldn't. This would be your molten shell. but at the same time, it's giving you offense. I see what you're doing here. Based on the amount of mana spent, so you're talking about that 2,000% increase of damage, or whatever that item said, plus the amount of damage that you're going to get for this because you're stacking mana. Because you want this to consume as much mana as possible. So you could probably give this... Aren't there support gems that can make this, like, way more expensive? Yeah. You see, I may be a new player, but I know how to use my brain. This is why I can't wait to start making builds. I don't think I'm ready to start making my own builds yet. But, like, I love theory crafting. Yeah. I can't wait to for you to try it, and I'd like to see it in action. Mana Bond Gem? I know I've seen that one. Oh, why'd I put build? Deals light energy. So the more mana you're missing, which you probably, if you have tons of mana regen, you're not going to be missing a lot of mana. But your skills are going to be more expensive, so... Are you using... You can't use auras with this build, though. Wouldn't that kind of, like, ruin it? What's your plan for defenses? You can. Yeah, that just cuts your mana in half, though, and that would reduce a lot of power, wouldn't it? I don't know. Still need defenses, though. So, you told me to check out Ivory Tower. Health ain't shit without defenses. I have one of these up for sale, too. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks like a badass chest. Like, the cosmetic look of it. I was like, I want to wear that. Looks cool. 30 maximum energy, so for 100 reserved life. Maximum mana, which goes good with what you're trying to do. Energy shield regen. 2% per second. That seems pretty good. Chaos damage is taken from mana before life. I mean, you got all the mana in the world, so chaos shouldn't be a problem. You got something else draining your mana to synergize with everything else. You say you tested this, right? You are able to cast abilities, aren't you, right? Okay. Because I see a lot of sources taking away your mana. Even though you're building up a shit ton of it. I like this build though. This is really interesting. How much mana do you got? Ah, damn. That's a lot of mana. Dude, that's cool. I'd love to see this build in action. Yeah, I'm sure you still got time to min-max it too. Yeah, this seems really cool. I like this. Maybe when you decide it shouldn't be a secret no more, I'll have to run it one league. Because I'm actually really curious about this. Like, I like interesting builds like this. It's why I liked Poison Concoction so much, because it's like no weapon. You throw your flasks. Like, I like fun stuff like that. This seems like a fun build. But yeah, I'm gonna get off your mustache. I've actually been up all night. I had my surgery yesterday for my tooth and slept all day yesterday, so I was up all night. And I was gonna try and get sleep before the stream, and then I just could not fall asleep. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get up and watch the stream. So I'm gonna take me a little nap, and I'm gonna be streaming tonight. They cut this bitch out of my mouth. Thank God, it's gone. It's gross looking too. I got the tooth. I have to show y'all later. It's nasty. Hope you don't got a weak stomach. Dude, I'm hyped for this new league, like even more than before. It seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Hey, I'm gonna be playing every night, so alright. You go under the radar. I won't tell nobody your secret. You have to keep me posted about it. You need to find a way to like record you doing a map or something with it. Download OBS. I'd love to see it. All right, well, I'll catch it. All right, there you go. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll be on tonight. I don't know if you'll be on, but I'm gonna be back to streaming every night. So I took a few days off with surgery and all that. So later.